사장님, 왜 표정이 안 좋으세요?
Well, I'm fine. Just a little tired, you know. We gotta shoot a video. Let's go. Let's go. Howdy, folks. Welcome back to channel Train True. And we all know why you're here. For me to explain the superior unrack method. I'm sorry for the previous garbage video by Juicy J. Let's get to it. The better method. Jason showed you his unrack method. He tends to do it with his butt down. And I prefer the hips up or the butt up unrack. So first, I'll demonstrate. The butt up unrack will have you do a hip thrust, unrack with the hips still in the air, then you put your butt down and begin the push. So, why do I think it's better? Well, I am a man of science. Jason, well, you saw his tattoos. He's a man of like superstitious magic, mumbo jumbo. I don't know. But I'm a man of science. And science says that the shoulders are best protected with a ribcage rotation. And in order for you to rotate your ribs as much as possible, the hip thrust puts you in the optimal, strongest, safest position. So just think about it. If I lay down and I want to unracking is the most dangerous part for your shoulders. Because in the unrack, your shoulders pop out and you have to drag them here. But when you do a hip thrust, you can rotate your ribs, keep your shoulders more compact and down. Okay, so with my style, I do the butt up or the hips up on the unrack. So I'll just first quickly demonstrate. I get my feet, get my arch. Notice my hips are in the air. I even go on my toes to create more. Hips up. I take my breath. Then butt down. So the number one reason I want to do hips up unrack is it creates more of the rib cage rotation. So this is flat, this is a rotated rib. And the number two reason, based on number one, is that with rotated ribs, you can retract the shoulders better. Okay? And that is the easiest way to keep your shoulders safe. When people unrack too far away from the bench, or they do it improperly, that's where they get hurt. Because right when you unrack, your shoulder goes like this. Sometimes you go like this. But with the hips up style, because your ribs are like this, your shoulders back, you can unrack like this. Instead of like this. You don't want to hurt those rotating cuffs. Okay, so I'll do a quick rundown step by step of how I do the unrack. So first, I find my feet position. You could do it with the feet on the bench first, or feet on the floor. It's up to you. Then, I sit down. And I want to start grabbing the bar with my normal grip. I do maximum grip. Then notice I'm pretty far. I don't want to unrack here. So I'm going to actually exhale a bit. So I release my air. I try to make my ribs open. Relax the abs. So I exhale. I do a hip thrust. Notice I'm on my toes. So toe hip thrust. And then I push myself into position as I'm opening my ribs more. Notice I'm building friction. I'm pulling the bar. And I will stop once the bar is around my chin or a little bit below. It's up to you, you have to experiment. Then I make sure I have a very long neck. So don't crunch your neck like this. You want to have a long neck. I'm still hip thrusting. Then I will take a big breath. I usually breathe through my nose first. So I'll take a nose breath into my upper chest, not here. I'll hip thrust even harder and then initiate the unrack. Now notice here, you shouldn't stop right there. You want to drag it out a bit so that your scapula becomes retracted. So again, big breath, hip thrust, unrack, drag it out, open the ribs and retract the scapula. So the difference between this and this. This is where you want to put your butt down. Carefully, I like to wedge my knees outward. So don't put your butt down like this. You gotta keep pushing off your toes and quads. Open your knees as you push. Keep your ribs open. So, keys you want to pay attention to is, one, make sure you want to minimize the distance of the unrack when you're self-unracking. So you don't want to be too far away from the bar. When you create your arch, it should be somewhere around here to here. That way, your shoulders just have to do this. You don't want to have to go all the way out. And with the hips up style, you can actually go very close, because when your hips come back down, the bar will kind of sink into place properly. Okay, the other cue you want to pay attention to is don't put your butt down early. Put it down after you've brought it out and retracted your shoulders. So to demonstrate a bad hips up unrack, a lot of people will do this. They'll set up properly. They'll do the hip thrust, they'll breathe. They unrack here, and then they put their butt down right away. But this is not my bench position. So you pretty much wasted it. The whole point of the hips up unrack is to create more rib cage rotation and more space here to retract your scapula. If you unrack and put your butt down away, the rotation and the space down here is already gone. So, unrack, bring it out fully, open your ribs, retract, then put your butt down carefully. And then you're ready to bench. One last thing I want to say about this style of unrack is breathing timing. You could either breathe your big breath before the unrack, so hold it and use the same breath, or you can have a half breath before the unrack, get in position, and then take a final breath. So I'll just quickly demonstrate. That's actually what I do. The reason I do half breath style, or should I say 2 breaths, is when I lift maximal weight, meaning like 90% and above, doing it all on 1 breath, it tends to be difficult for me. Maybe my cardio sucks, probably does. I also tend to, sometimes I pass out if I just do it on 1 breath. So I changed my style probably a year ago to a 2 breath style, and since then I've never passed out. But the 1 breath style I think is better for beginners. It's tighter, less complicated, it doesn't take as long. And the 2 breath style, I'm just telling you because you can try it. Maybe you're more comfortable. Maybe you don't like the feeling of blood going to your face too much and holding your breath so long. So my style would look a little like this. Everything in the beginning is the same. Grabbing the bar, move myself position, create a long neck. 50% breath through the nose. Unrack. And then I take my 50% breath here again, and then butt down. Breathing through your nose first and then your mouth final. That's usually a good tip. Breathing through the nose first usually allows more air to come into the upper chest instead of the core. Because on bench, you don't want to breathe into your core. Actually, the chest is better. But breathing through your nose the whole time is inefficient because, well, you know, your nose is smaller, the holes are smaller. So I usually do nose and then mouth. So I go all the air up here.